Okay, good morning to one and all. So, welcome to the online video lecture for the subject machines 2. So, as per the schedule, we would like to discuss the topic three-phase induction motor slip, rotor EMF, and rotor frequency. Okay, so the source of today's lecture is from the textbook, that is Electric Motors and Drives, from the author Austin Hughes and Bill Drury. So, this is the source of the session. So before going for this rotor EMF slip and the frequency concepts, so let us remind about what we have discussed in the earlier class. So working under the working principle of the induction motor. So through this ladder diagram, so I think you are able to see these figures. So through this ladder diagram, we have gone through how the force is developed. So on what principle this motor gets, under what principle this motor is running, and so how we are going to analyze with the help of this by considering this squirrel cage induction rotor, right? So these are the rotor bars, so series connected rotor bars, and these are considered as an end rings. So it appears to be as a ladder diagram. So here we have considered a permanent magnet there. So this permanent magnet is we are trying to push towards the right side. Okay, so by keeping the this rotor bars constant, that is the ladder constant. So consider the ladder as the rotor and consider the permanent magnet as the stator. So if we start pulling, if we start pushing this magnet, permanent magnets towards the right, so there we can see the force. What is the force applied there at a speed v for the length of conductors L. So this, it creates a varying magnetic field in the rotor. So because of this, an EMF is induced in the rotor. So rotor in the sense here, the conductors, this ladder. Okay. So this is how the EMF is induced in the rotor. But actually, we need the MMF. That is the torque. There should be torque developed, and the rotor starts rotating. So that is actually we required. We are not bothered about the induced EMF. But as per the Faraday's law, there exists an induced EMF in the rotor conductors. See, we can notice the A and B. So these are the end rings. So it represents like a squirrel cage rotor. So these are the end rings here. So soon after the, see here the circuit is closed, right? So soon after the circuit is closed, if there is an induced EMF, there it draws some amount of current. Okay. So because of this current, rotor current, so it also produces the flux. So rotor flux. So between these two relative velocity, what happens? There exists the concept of slip. Okay. So there should be some difference between this rotor and the field. So that is the stator magnetic field and rotor. Okay. So if there is no difference, so for example, consider it as earlier we have seen this a permanent magnet to be moved, but by keeping the permanent magnet fixed and the ladder is pushed towards the right, so that means we are making it as unstable and we are trying to pull forward. So then uh, what happens there? So here the induced EMF is constant there. Okay, and so 1 second. Okay, right. So if we are pushing this ladder and keeping the permanent magnet as constant, what happens there? So there will not be any varying magnetic field, right? So only, so what happens there? Induced EMF will be there, but coming to the real-time analysis in the machine part, the rotor never rotates. It consists of an induced EMF, but there it does not create any flux, and it will not be useful for rotating the rotor. Sorry, yes, for rotating the rotor. So that is the actual case. So for that only, it creates a rotating magnetic field in the stator. Okay, so that is the actual procedure for the working of the induction motor. So once again, I'll conclude that what is the working principle there. So it consists of two. So it runs under the application of two. That is the Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction and the Lenz force or Lorentz force. Okay. So based on these two, so the working principle is depending. So the the stator rotating magnetic field is useful, uh, which produces because of the electrical supply, and we have seen what is the rotating magnetic field. And right now I would not discuss about the RMF. So because of this RMF, what happens? It is linked with the rotor. Okay. So because of this working principle, what I have discussed here, the rotor cuts the magnetic field and it starts producing the flux. So because of this these two fluxes, what happens? The rotor starts deflecting. That is the rotating. Okay. So if these two what I can say, if these two speeds are, that is the synchronous speed and the rotor speed are same, then there is no movement. So it remains in standstill position and the rotor never rotates. Okay, definitely there should be difference between the RMF, that is the rotating magnetic field which creates in the stator, and the rotor speed. Okay, so that's we have discussed earlier class in detail. So let's come to the concept of slip there. Okay, so keeping all these points which we have discussed earlier in the view, so the behavior of the rotor depends very much on its relative velocity with respect to the rotating field. So what does it mean? So the rotor depends on the relative velocity with respect to rotating field. So rotating field in the sense the rotating magnetic field. Okay. If the rotor is stationary, so earlier we have seen the ladder is kept constant. So similar to that, if the rotor is stationary, for example, the rotating field will cut the rotor conductors at a synchronous speed, thereby inducing a high EMF in them. What does it mean? So if the rotor is stationary, that is the rotor part is constant, and we are uh, and this rotating field, which is created in the stator side, that is the rotating magnetic field, it will cut the rotor conductors at synchronous speed. So I think we are well known that the rotating magnetic field speed is considered as synchronous speed. Okay, so thereby inducing a high EMF in them. So where the high EMF is induced there in the rotor side. Okay. Next, on the other hand, if the rotor was running at the synchronous speed, so that means if the rotating magnetic field is running at synchronous speed and the rotor is also running, okay, so its relative velocity with respect to the field would be zero, and no EMF would be induced in the rotor conductors. So what does this point represents? If these two move at a same instant, okay, so there will not be any EMF induced, right? So because there is no uh, linkage of any varying magnetic field in this rotor. So by this, what happens there? There will be no induced EMF. Okay, right. So finally, what we would like to conclude, what we are going to conclude about this slip means, the slip is defined as the relative velocity between the rotor and the field is known as the slip. I repeat once again, the relative velocity between the rotor and the field is known as the slip. If the speed of the rotor is n, in some textbooks or in some other materials, you can find it as n suffix small r. So don't get confused. So if the speed of the rotor is n or n suffix small r, the slip speed is ns minus n. So slip speed is different from the rotor speed or the motor speed. So speed of the rotor can be considered as motor speed. Okay, so actually the output which we require is the rotor speed. So that is actually coupled to the mechanical load or any other generators or something else. Okay, or any appliances. So what the exact output is the rotor speed. It is denoted as n, capital N. The slip speed is defined as difference between the synchronous speed and rotor speed. Synchronous speed is nothing but the speed of the rotating magnetic field in the stator, which is created in the stator. So where ns is the synchronous speed of the field, so the rotating magnetic field, usually expressed in revolutions per minute or rotations per minute. No issue with that. Next, look at the next point. The slip as distinct from slip speed. It is different from the slip speed, that is ns minus n. It is the normalized quantity defined as slip equal to, it is denoted by s equal to ns minus n by ns. So it gives the ratio of slip speed to the synchronous speed. So slip in other terms, it can be defined as ratio of slip speed to the synchronous speed. Okay. So usually it is expressed in ratio or percentage into 100. If you want in percentage, you can add into cross product of 100. Right. Okay. So a slip of 0. Okay. That means if S value is 0, Therefore, it indicates that the rotor speed is equal to the synchronous speed. So substitute s equal to 0 here. What happens? Ns is 0, then ns equal to n. That is ns equal to rotor speed. This stator speed is equal to the rotor speed, while a slip of 1 corresponds to 0 speed. Okay. Right. So the frequency equal to here, the supply frequency is equal to number of cycles per second. This is a fundamental statement here. So which is equal to number of cycles per revolutions into revolutions by seconds. So basically this equations comes from the number of cycles means, so the minimum complete rotation, I mean the complete revolution can be completed in 2 cycles. That is positive half cycle and negative half cycle. That gives one complete revolution, right? So so this is the, for simplifying this equation, we have converted these revolutions by seconds. So F equal to P into N, where P gives the number of poles and N gives the speed. Okay. Next, so N, that is synchronous speed in revolutions per second. It gives Ns synchronous speed by 60. Okay. So here small p equal to capital P, number of poles by 2. So the supply frequency, it can be equated as P into synchronous speed by 120. Or further, look at the right hand side. So here we have highlighted it. So this is another term of defining. So rotor speed is equal to 1 minus s into ns. This is obtained from this equation. 1 second. So this is the equation. Here slip equal to ns minus n by ns. So here we are separating it. So bring this denominator term to the s value. So here s into ns equal to ns minus n. So n equal to 1 minus s into ns. So ns equal to 120 f by p. So therefore n equal to 120 f by p into 1 minus s. So this is the actual rotor speed in terms of slip. Okay. So up to here, once again I will revise what are the key points we have discussed. So we need to find out, so what is the actual value of slip? Ns minus n by ns. So where n gives the rotor speed. So if you want to find out the rotor speed, okay, this is the value 120 f by p. So fundamental frequency, number of poles, minimum number of poles required is 2. So based upon the output, that is our RPM value, we can change the pole value. So, but once before it is fixed there, the number of poles required is 2 there. Okay. So into 1 minus s. The slip can be started from 0 to 1, but either at 0 nor either at 1 cannot be run practically. Okay, the slip should be varied from 2 to 8%. So at the full load, okay, that is the standard value there. So by referring in the different textbooks, it is given as 2 to 8%. Okay. Um, 1 second. Right. Next, so that there exists the concept of slip, and based upon the values, that is from s equal to 0 to 1. So we will analyze further. When the tests are performed on the induction motors with their rotor deliberately held stationary so that slip is 1, this test is said to be the under locked rotor condition. So what does it mean? So this point represents that if slip equal to 1, so how we can achieve the slip equal to 1 means the rotor is, suppose any physically or deliberately, in the sense means intentionally we are holding the rotor. We are making it to not to rotate. Then the slip value may be 1. Okay. Then it is called the rotor condition, because slip equal to 1 means how it can be achieved. So look at here, how can be slip 1? Okay. So if stator speed is equal to rotor speed, suppose consider it as 1500 and 1500, so slip equal to 0. If not, other than if suppose s, how can be s equal to 1 if the slip speed is equal to the synchronous speed? So that is that case I can call it as the locked rotor condition. Okay. So under this condition also, if the suppose slip equal to 1, the rotor never rotates. It is that condition is called locked rotor condition. Okay, so the reason may be different, but practically slip cannot be equal to 1. Even though if it is equal to 1, the rotor never rotates. That condition is called locked rotor. Okay, the same next point. The same expression is often used loosely to mean zero speed, even when the rotor is free to move when it started from rest. So this point indicates that from slip equal to 0, so that is the starting position of the induction motor. Of course, slip cannot be equal to 0, okay, because the rotor never moves, but it is considered as the starting condition. Okay, so the same expression is used. So is used to loosely to mean zero speed. That means s equal to 0, the rotor never rotates. For s equal to 1, the rotor never rotates. So the value should be from 0 to 1. Okay, in practical analysis. Okay, so consider this star winding diagram. So this is the rotor speed. So all the previous discussions and all, I'm saying that a rotor speed, sorry, stator speed in the sense the stator rotating magnetic field. So actually there are no moving parts in the stator. Okay, only the rotating part is the flux developed. It is of rotating magnetic field. So that is the speed. That speed is called synchronous speed. And coming to the rotor here, so look at the diagram. So because of this RMF, so it is linked with the rotor, either it may be squirrel cage or slip ring type. So the rotor starts rotating. So because of the concept of slip, okay, if the slip is between 0 to 1, obviously the rotor starts rotating here. Okay, so that is denoted as NR or capital N. So the main concept here is it depends upon the flux. Okay, so that is the state RMF and the rotor speed. So look at this. The rate at which, up to now we have discussed the concept of slip here. Let us go into in detail of this concept. The rate at which the rotor conductors are cut by the flux and hence their induced EMF is directly proportional to the slip. With no induced EMF at synchronous speed, that is x equal to 0, and maximum induced EMF when the rotor is stationary at s equal to 1. So what this point indicates that the rotor conductors are cut by the flux, that is the RMF, okay, and their induced EMF, that is the EMF induced in the rotor, is directly proportional to, these two concepts are directly proportional to the slip. Okay, so with no induced EMF at synchronous speed, that is s equal to 0. That means if the slip is 0, so there is no induced EMF. When the slip equal to 1, so both are in movement, that is the rotating magnetic field and the rotor. If these both are in the same movement, okay, but there is no movement of the rotor, but there exists some maximum induced EMF, okay, in the rotor side. So I hope you understand this point. Once again, I'm clearing you. So look at this ladder diagram. See this. If these two, that is the permanent magnet and the ladder, if move at the same instant, okay, the rotor never rotates, but there exists the maximum induced EMF. Okay, so that condition is s equal to 1. Okay, so before that, another point what they have mentioned, with no induced EMF, s equal to 0. So when slip equal to 0, again the rotor remains in constant, it never rotates. At that condition, the induced EMF is 0. So four points we need to find out. At s equal to 0, so rotor never rotates and the induced EMF is 0. At s equal to 1, the induced EMF is maximum and also the rotor never rotates. So these are the cases. Okay, look at the characteristics. The variation of the rotor induced EMF and frequency with speed and slip. See, look at this. At s equal to 0, that is synchronous speed. So stator speed is equal to the rotor speed. At s equal to 1, okay, slip is equal to 1. So how the EMF is, the y-axis represents the EMF and the x-axis represents the slip. Okay, so EMF starts inducing. So if we keep on increasing the slip value to maximum, so the induced EMF is maximum. Okay, so that is the statement made here. So it is directly proportional to the slip. Okay, so induced EMF is directly proportional to the slip. Okay, so this gives the characteristics, and also from this diagram we can conclude that the rotor EMF also and the rotor frequency. So let's discuss further this rotor frequency. Up to now, just remind these points only. The rotor, okay. Next, the frequency of the rotor. 1 second. Right. The frequency of the rotor EMF is also directly proportional to the slip. Earlier we have seen from the characteristics. Since the rotor effectively slides with respect to the flux wave, that is this rotating magnetic field, and the higher the relative speed, the more times in a once again I'll repeat, the frequency of the rotor EMF is also directly proportional to slip, since the rotor effectively slides with respect to the flux wave, and the higher the relative speed, the more times in a second each rotor conductor is cut by a N and S pole. So for this I'll give clarification by looking this diagram. Once again, first I'll read it out. At synchronous speed s equal to 0, the frequency is 0, while at standstill. So what do we mean by standstill? Means it is in rotor is in locked position. Slip equal to 1. The rotor frequency is equal to the supply frequency. Although the EMF induced in every rotor bar will have the same magnitude and frequency, they will not be in phase. See, 1 second. See, look at this diagram. See, what does it mean? This is the pattern of induced EMFs in the rotor conductors. So this is the waveform shape in the rotor conductors. That is the induced EMF waveform shape. The rotor voltage wave moves at a speed of s into n with respect to the rotor surface. So when the rotor starts rotating, okay, so this is how the EMF is induced in the rotor conductors as per the Faraday's law. Okay, so here you can see this negative peak appears because of the south pole, and this positive peak because of the north pole. Okay, and this speed relies on s into ns. The rotor speed nr equal to s into ns. Earlier we have seen this equation from the slip equation. Okay, so let's get back to the previous point. See, the frequency of the rotor EMF is also directly proportional to the slip, and the rotor effectively slides with respect to the flux wave. With the higher relative speed, more times in a second of each rotor conductor cut by north and south pole. So what happened means, so look at this diagram. See, so consider this the rotor conductor. Consider the ladder as the rotor conductor. So this ladder, it is linked with the permanent magnet. Suppose consider it as a north pole. Okay, so you have to analyze the machine there. Here it is a permanent magnet, and it consists of a constant north pole. But coming to the motor, there are electromagnets continuously. There will be alternate poles, are the north pole, south pole. Likewise, if it is linked with the north pole, maximum flux is induced. Then there exists a positive half cycle. Okay, if the rotor is continuously it is rotating, then it is linked with the south pole. Then there exists the negative half cycle. So likewise, the positive and negative half cycles are generated in the rotor. So that is the meaning of this point. Okay, right. So here slip equal to 0, frequency is 0, and slip equal to 1. That condition is called standstill condition. Okay. So earlier we have seen that is a locked rotor condition. Okay. And although the EMF induced in every rotor bar will have the same magnitude and frequency. So we have to understand here. Earlier we have discussed in the transformers. Okay. So the transfer of energy from the primary to secondary. Okay. The frequency remains constant. And the magnitude is constant and the frequency is constant there. Okay, in the same phenomena here also, but they'll not be in phase. In phase in the sense at what instant the signal has started cannot be same for the rotor side, that is the secondary side, but the magnitude and the frequency remains same. Okay, so that is the another analysis part. Next, at any particular instant, the bars under the peak of north pole of the field will have maximum positive voltage in them. So what I have said earlier. So if it is facing a north pole, if the rotor conductors are under the north pole, we have the maximum induced EMF. Okay. Suppose if it is under the south pole, that is opposite to 180 degrees, then it will have negative half cycle. Okay, so that is the point of that is the meaning of this point. Okay, look at the second one. The pattern of instantaneous voltages in the rotor is thus a replica of flux density wave, and the rotor induced voltage wave therefore moves relative to the rotor at a slip speed as shown figure. See, this is the diagram. So this is under for the south pole, and here this is for the north pole, and the frequency is same as the RMF, that is the supply frequency. Okay, but this frequency is for only induced EMF. So once again, I'm alerting you, the induced EMF in the rotor will be the frequency of the induced EMF in the rotor will be same as the frequency in the supply frequency. Okay, so whereas the current frequency may be different, the rotor current frequency may be different. Okay, maybe not, definitely it will be different. That coming to this rotor EMF, it follows the stator EMF. Okay, both will be having same magnitude and same frequency, but they will not be in phase. Okay, so that is the additional those are the additional points we are discussing here. Okay, since all the rotor bars are short circuited by the end rings, in case of the squirrel cage, the induced voltages will drive currents along the rotor bars, and the currents forming closer paths through the end rings are shown in the figure. See, look at this diagram. So look at the second diagram. So these are the end rings. So we have seen as A and B there in the ladder diagram. So the end rings are the closer paths. Okay. So this is the rotor body and the rotor bar currents, how it is traversing there. Okay. So this is first diagram in instantaneous EMF in the rotor bars. So how EMF is induced in the rotor conductors, it follows the stator EMF. Okay, but the rotor current frequency is different. So instantaneous, this figure represents the instantaneous sinusoidal pattern of rotor currents in rotor bars and end rings. Only one pole pitch is shown here. One pole pitch in the sense the adjacent poles here. For north pole, the positive half cycle is generated, and for the negative half cycle, it is due to because of the interaction with south pole. Okay, so this is how the EMF induced in the rotor and the current directions in the rotor bars. Okay, let's come to the rotor EMF. So up to now we have discussed the concept of slip there. Okay, and also few points regarding the rotor EMF. Now we will come to the rotor EMF in detail. When an induction motor is stationary, the stator and rotor windings form the equivalent circuit of a transformer as shown in figure. See, this circuit diagram we have discussed in the transformers equivalent circuit, right? So neglect the no load parameters, that is R naught and X naught, I naught, circulating current, magnetizing currents. Neglect all those things. So only the primary considered EMF, induced EMF E1 for the turns N1, and the secondary side, the rotor side, so turns N2, induced EMF E2, secondary current. Since the circuit is closed, there exists the secondary current I2 or the load current, and the impedance R2, combination of R2 plus JX2. Okay, so it appears to be a equivalent circuit of a transformer. So as per the transformation ratio, what we have discussed, E2 equal to N2 by N1 into E1. So ratio of N2 by N1 to the E1. Next, when an induction motor is running, the induced EMF in the rotor is less since the relative movement between the conductors and the rotating field is less. So what does it mean? So when the motor starts rotating there, when the rotor starts rotating in the motor, the induced EMF is induced EMF in the rotor is less. Why? Because the movement of the conductors, because the rotor conductors are linked with the RMF, and there it starts rotating. So it cannot be the maximum value. It cannot be equal to E1, cannot be equal to E2. Earlier we have seen the E1 and E2 have the same voltage magnitude, but coming to the practical part, it will be somewhat less because there exists the concept of resistance there. So secondary part, there exists a less rotor bars having less resistance, and different parameters may be there, different constraints comes under this. So the induced EMF will be somewhat less than the induced EMF E1. due to some losses likewise. Next, the induced EMF is proportional to this movement, hence it must be proportional to slip. So earlier we have seen from the characteristics, induced EMF is directly proportional to the slip. Induced EMF in the sense in the rotor. Okay. So finally, what we would like to conclude this EMF part means, so EMF induced in the rotor ER equal to S into E2. Okay. So what is E2 here? Induced EMF in the rotor. Induced EMF in the secondary. And finally, what is the output from the circuit of the secondary circuit means ER. So ER is a combination of, so it is a cos part of S into E2. So it is directly proportional to the slip. So that is the statement here. So from this we can further derive it as S into N2 by N1 into E1. So from this equation, so look at this equation, E2 equal to N2 by N1 into E1. So from this equation we have substituted here. So finally, what is the equation there? ER, induced EMF in the rotor, ER equal to S into K into E1. So in some textbooks, they will not be discussing about the K. What do you mean by K there? Transformation ratio. Okay. So if they are not particular about this transformation ratio, directly you can write it as ER equal to S into E1. So what is E1 there? Induced EMF in the primary, that is the stator part. So this is the output of this. So this is the main objective of this concept. So ER equal to S into E2. So this we have to finalize. So for remaining, this box represents the equation which we have discussed in the transformer part. Induced EMF in whole primary winding equal to 4.44 F into N1 into 5M. So similarly, E2 equal to 4.44 into F into N2 into 5M. Similarly, these two equations are applicable for this induction motor also. But coming to the real time, E2 may be less than E1. But for theoretical analysis, this E1 is equal to E2, right? Because there exists the term N2 there and flux phi. So this may differ. So because of these two parameters, the induced EMF in the rotor E2 may be somewhat less than E1. Okay, so that's about the rotor EMF. Okay, so next coming to the last topic, that is rotor frequency. Okay, so the speed of rotating magnetic flux is given by n revolutions per second or rotations per minute. As per your convenience, you can follow anything. Okay, so small n represents that it is considered as revolutions per second. Okay, so which is equal to 60 by ns, capital Ns. Okay, so or F equal to, further this equation can be termed as F equal to n into P. Okay, so where P gives the number of poles, F represents the supply frequency. If Nr, okay, the speed of the rotor in revolutions per second, the speed at which the rotor conductors are being cut by the rotating flux, that is the RMF, is Ns minus Nr. So this gives the slip speed, right? So earlier we have seen Ns minus Nr. If it is in capital letters, it is rotations per minute. If it is in small letters, it indicates that it is in under revolutions per second. So Ns minus Nr gives slip speed, okay, in revolutions per second. So finally, what is the rotor frequency equation there? Fr equal to, so n into p, n in the sense slip speed, ns minus nr into p. So further this can be written as ns minus nr by ns into p. So I think we are well known, ns minus nr by ns gives slip s. Okay, so that we have seen here. Next, ns into p means that is the supply frequency. Okay, so ns means 60 by capital Ns. So that gives 120 F by P, earlier we have seen. So finally, what is the rotor frequency there? Fr equal to S into Fs. So S means slip into Fs in the sense supply frequency or fundamental frequency. Okay, so here the slip may be the frequency of the rotor may vary from 1 to 4 hertz. Please remind that the supply frequency is different. The fundamental frequency, which means the supply frequency, will be 50 hertz or 60 hertz. But coming to the rotor side, the rotor frequency cannot be equal to the supply frequency. It may be around from 1 hedges to 4 hedges. Okay, please note that point. It may be from 1 hedges to 4 hedges. Okay, so look at this problem. Let's have two examples. A three-phase 12-pole salient pole alternator is coupled to a diesel engine running at 500 rpm. It supplies an induction motor which has a full load speed of 1440 rpm. Find the percentage slip and the number of poles of the induction motor. So what is the question they have given? What are the data they have given? The supply is three-phase supply, right? So how many poles? 12 poles. Okay. So the salient pole alternator is coupled to a diesel engine. So in the sense, what happens here it is acting as a prime mover. Okay. So this motor is acting as a prime mover, and it is coupled with the diesel engine running at 500 rpm. So since it acts as a prime mover means because of the coupling, so it also run at 500 rpm. So 500 rpm means the speed of the motor. It is not the speed of the stator, right? It supplies an induction motor which has a full load speed of 1440 rpm. Okay, so speed of the induction motor here is 1440 rpm, and frequency of the supply to the induction motor is, sorry, 1 second. So we need to find out the percentage slip and the number of poles on the induction motor. Okay, so look at the solution here. The frequency of supply to the induction motor. So as per the standard equation, what is there? Ns equal to 120 F by P. So we need to find out the speed of the induction motor from the stator side. Means, see, actually we are giving the supply to the input. So that is the stator. So there we need to find out the speed. So that speed I can call it as synchronous speed. So that value is Ns equal to 120 F by P. Here we are going to find out the supply frequency, F equal to Pn by 120. So the frequency is 50 hertz. Okay, fine. So we have found out that frequency is 50 hertz, and also given that the speed of the induction motor is 1440 rpm. So as per the given data, so we need to find out the poles here. So as per the formula, what is that? So we need to find out the pole. So for that, P equal to 120 F by N. So what is the value there? P equal to 4.16. See, listen that the poles cannot be in a fraction. Okay, so make it as a round value. So final value, I mean the fixed value. So make it as 4. Suppose if it is 4.5 or 4.6 something, make it as 5. Okay, so finally the number of poles are 4. Okay, so we need to find out the synchronous speed. So what is that synchronous speed there? So 120 the F by V, that is 4 poles are found. So finally the speed is 1500. So actually it is running at 1440. Okay, just for our just to confuse us, they have given the 500 rpm of the diesel generator, right? So 1500 is the standard speed, and it is actually running at 1440, and we need to find out the slip. So what is the slip there? Ns minus n by ns. So 1500 minus 1440 by 1500. So the slip is 4%. So from this, what we can conclude? The rotating magnetic field speed, that is the synchronous speed, and the rotor speed, the difference is 4%. So it is between from 1 to 100. Okay, so that means out of this, sorry, 0 to 1. Okay, between this it is existing 0.04. Okay, so that's about the problems, a small problem. Next, look at the last one. If the induced EMF in the stator of an 8-pole induction motor has a frequency of 50 hertz, and that in the rotor is 1.5 hertz, at what speed is the motor running, and what is the slip? So I repeat once again. If the induced EMF in the stator of an 8-pole induction motor, so number of poles are 8 here, has a frequency 50 hertz, supply frequency is 50 hertz, and that in the rotor is 1.5 hertz. So earlier we have seen the rotor frequency FR is 1.5 hertz. So we need to find out the speed of the motor running and what is the slip. So problem is that supply frequency is there, rotor frequency is there, and they have given the poles. We need to find out the slip. Okay, so these are the data. So f equal to 50 and fr equal to 1.5 Hz. So ns equal to the synchronous speed equal to 120 f by p. So 120 into, substitute the Gauss values, 50 by 8 equal to 750 rpm. So as per the formula, fr equal to s into f. So rotor frequency is equal to slip into supply frequency. So from that equation, we have found out slip equal to 0.03. Okay. Suppose if we want to find out the speed of the rotor under running condition, so of course they have asked the problem also. We need to find out the speed. So nr equal to 1 minus s into ns. Earlier we have defined this equation. So by substituting all those values, we got 727.5, or make it as 728 rpm. Okay, the speed is also fixed there, or no problem, no issue with that. Leave it as same, whatever the answer we have got. So 727.5 rpm. So this is the these are the two examples relevant to this topic.